Hi, today we're gonna see how to create a seashell with Clayoo. So we're gonna start with a primitive with a sphere. So let's go to primitive tab and sphere. And in here, instead of the quad mode, we're gonna use the polygonal mode. Okay, let me display it in shaded mode. So now we have to check the divisions. I think that with this number of divisions, it's gonna be more than enough. So I'm gonna click on validate. Okay, what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna select the sphere. I'm gonna go to the front view and display mode is shaded also, and I'm gonna rotate it. Okay, holding shift to snap 90 degrees. So I'm gonna select by faces, select all the faces, and I'm gonna delete them. And also with these faces in here, and from the top view, I'm gonna do exactly the same. Grab those ones and delete. Okay, so this is the model that I'm having right now. Okay, what I'm gonna do with this model, I think that it's gonna be better if I rotate that. So from the front view, this is gonna be the result, and this one from the right view. Okay, it's not bad, but maybe what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate it 90 degrees like that. Okay, and I'm gonna move it a little bit like this. Okay, so from the top view, I'm gonna go for something like that. Okay, just more or less, because that's only a reference. Okay, this is gonna be the base of one of the base of the shell. Okay, so what I'm gonna do right now from the top view is I'm gonna bend this object. Okay, so I'm gonna select the entire object and I'm gonna use the command bend, the rhino one. So I'm gonna set that from here to here, it's gonna be the spline to bend, and I'm gonna bend a little bit. Okay, I think something like that's gonna be more than enough. Okay, so from here it's gonna start the shell. Perfect. Right now what I'm doing is I'm only creating one half of the shell, so then I can create the symmetrical object. Okay, so I don't care about the other half of the model. So first of all, I'm gonna select by edges, double click on the edges to select the entire loop, and I'm gonna create a small extrusion. Okay, so I'm gonna hold Alt on my keyboard and drag it a little bit. Okay, just a really small extrusion. And if I want to, I can just make these points a little bit more to the outside, just a little bit. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna extract a curve from here. So how do I extract the curve? I'm gonna select first of all the edge that it's perpendicular. One of these edges is gonna be fine, and then run in the creation tab the command extract isocurve. So extract isocurve, and I'm gonna extract this isocurve. Doesn't matter if it's perfectly on the edge or it's more or less on the edge. Okay. So in here I have the curve that I've extracted. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I can hide this object, but in this case I'm gonna just move it a little bit to see perfectly the curve. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create another curve. So I'm gonna go to the top view. Okay, and I'm gonna create another curve right there in here to create all this transition. So I'm gonna come here and write curve, and I'm gonna go for a curve something like this. I will change the shape of the shell, so maybe that's not so beautiful. Something like this is gonna be fine. At the end we can always refine that. Okay, so it doesn't matter. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this curve in here and this curve in here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the tool in here in creation, the from two curves. Okay, and I'm gonna create geometry between two curves. Okay, in this case are rotated. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come here and flip the curve, and I'm gonna reduce first of all the number of segments in here, and in the other side I think that for it's quite good. Okay, so something like that. For sure in here I can play a little bit with the distance. Okay, so increasing at the end, in this case, we had to flip the curve, so the negative value is going to be the one that it's going to the top, okay, and the other one is the one that it's not. But something like this, it's going to be fine. So we have the shape in here, okay, so we can just play a little bit with the slider or with the exact value, okay, to have this this shape. So something like that, it's nice. And I'm going to click here, okay, to validate. Okay, there we go. Right now what I'm going to do, I don't need the curves anymore, so I'm going to use the command shell crv and delete. Okay, now I have selected the two curves that I had and delete them. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these four edges, so double clicking to select the entire loop, and I'm going to project it to the plane. So I'm going to use tool project to plane, and in this case to the blue one. Okay, so now are perfectly aligned. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld all these vertex in here to match perfectly. So I'm going to go to vertex selection mode, and I'm going to select all of them. It doesn't matter if I have to select these ones. I will select all of them, and I'm going to run in addition tab the command weld. So by default, it's going to set the tolerance 0.1. So as the points were so close, we just get this tolerance. So we can get this job perfectly done. If we increase in here the tolerance, imagine that we want to join this point in here, we can increase instead of 0.1, I think that 0.5, for instance, and now we have joined all these points. That maybe it's also a good way to do that. Okay, so let's go like this. And I'm gonna right click to validate. Okay, so right now we have half of a shell. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select the entire shell, and I'm gonna create the symmetrical object. So I'm gonna come here, addition, symmetry, by plane, going to the top view. So I'm gonna activate grid snap from here to here. Okay, and now I don't want the object to be symmetrical because I want to create the shell, and it doesn't matter if it's symmetrical or not to me right now. So I'm gonna go directly to end symmetry. Okay, so right now the object, I have created the symmetry, but it's not symmetrical right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to go to the addition tab, and I'm going to give it a thickness. Okay, first of all, before giving the thickness, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a small extrusion down here. So I'm going to select the entire loop. So select the naked edges on the scene. I'm going to hold Alt on my keyboard, and I'm going to create a small extrusion like this. Okay, and now I'm gonna select the entire object and go to addition and shell it. In this case, I can shell it to the outside or to the inside. Okay, I usually prefer to go to the inside because I usually think about the external part when I'm modeling. So the object that I don't have created, it's the inside part. But in fact, it doesn't matter. Okay, so right click and we validate the shell. Right, so what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna create this object with the mirror, okay, of this object. So right now this is the object that we have right now, and we need the bottom part also of the shell. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this object, and we can go Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V to copy and paste. And let's rotate that and rotate holding Shift and move it down a little bit. Okay, something like that. Let's see if in smooth mode it's touching. Maybe I'm gonna move it a little bit upper. Okay, something like this, it's gonna be good. So right now, if I go to the front view, I can see that maybe the bottom part is too thicken. Okay, so the height it's too heavy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scale it a little bit. But if I scale it, being this the center of the geometry, I'm gonna lose from the top and from the bottom. I'm going to lose heading here and heading here. So what I want is to keep this heading here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Control, and I'm going to drag the move gumball, because I want this to be the new pivot point. Okay, so from here I'm going to go to extrude, to scale, and I'm going to scale that a little bit. But right now, as this is the new center of the object point, so I'm scaling from here. Okay, perfect. So what I can do right now is I can grab this shell part. I'm gonna create a new layer that's gonna call shell bottom, for instance, and change object to layer. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hide this this layer. Okay, so now it's time to create some details here on the top part. So I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna select by edges, and I'm gonna double click on the entire loop of edges. And the tool that I'm gonna use is the split sides. Okay, for sure in here I can divide, and I can go more or less to check what's the geometry that I want to create. But in here I do prefer to go for split sides. Okay, so here I can keep the central part and it's gonna look a little bit better. So I'm gonna show you both options. Okay, so one of the options is going to the edition tab and go split sides. So I can keep in here, I can create the two divisions, one in every one of the sides. Okay, so I'm gonna click in here, and here I have the result. And for sure I can double click on the edge of the center and delete it. For sure in here I'm gonna show you another way. So if I go in here and go for the split side, I have the option to delete central edge. I'm gonna say yes in this case, and when I create this new geometry, something like this, it automatically deletes the central edge, so I don't have to create it manually. In the next loop of edges, I'm gonna use the tool divide. So I'm gonna go to the edition tab and divide. Okay, and it's gonna allow me to display this this amazing red line. So I can click, for instance, if I want the existing loop of edges to be the central one, so I can create one on one side. So for instance here, right click to repeat the command and create the other one, for instance here. Okay, and now I can double click on the central one and delete it. Okay, in here we have seen three different ways, okay, with split sides and deleting the central, split sides and automatically deleting the central, and with divide. And here on the central one, what I'm gonna use is the split sides. Okay, and I'm gonna do the split sides like that. Okay, something like this. And I don't want to delete that because I want to create the symmetrical axis in here, so I don't have to create this part multiple times. So from the top view, I'm gonna grab the faces, and I'm gonna select all of them, one of the half, and delete. Okay, perfect. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna select the entire object. Well, first of all, what I can do is I can just go for this part. So I'm gonna select all these edges, not the inside part, so I cannot shift and double click because I only want those parts in here. Okay, from here to here. I don't want more. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same in here. So selecting all the faces that we want in here. So let's go one by one. Okay, perfect. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the tool, the extrude. So edition tab and extrude. In this case, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use, instead of the by group, I'm gonna use the local normals. Okay, and for sure I'm gonna reduce the size a lot. Okay, something like that. If I smooth that, this is gonna be the result. So I can just play a little bit with extrusion in here. For sure I can apply different thickness, different heights if I go one by one, but in this case I prefer to do it like this. Okay, so if that's the result that we're looking for, just click on OK. We have all the geometries in here, and what I'm gonna do in here is I'm gonna grab this part, going to the top view, applying a symmetry, so edition and symmetry by plane, click here to create a plane. And I can do both. I can end the symmetry because I don't want it to be symmetrical anymore after creating this loop of edges. So let's go to click end symmetry. And in here I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete this central edge, and I'm gonna select all of them as we did before. So now we have a central extrusion in here. Perfect. So now again, edition tab, extrude. Now it saves the last properties. Okay, if we don't like it, we can increase it a little bit. So maybe I'm going to increase a little bit the height on the one in the middle. Okay, and click validate. Okay, here we have the object. So now let me show the other part. So that's the result that we have right now. It's quite good. Okay, the result is so amazing. Let's imagine that we want this opened and not closed. So what can we do? I'm going to select this object, go into the front view, and the same as we did before with the move gamble, I'm going to hold Control, and with the 2D gamble, I'm going to move it to here, for instance. Okay, and now when I rotate that, I can just open a little bit the seashell. Okay, so it's gonna look quite amazing. For sure, I can refine the positioning here. So just refine it a little bit, but this is gonna be the result. And the last detail that should be nice to add in here, it's a small pearl in here, so we can just come to create a sphere, a small sphere. I prefer, instead of the polygonal, the quad one. Okay, going for something like that. Okay, and now put it in here. Okay, just make sure that it doesn't go to the bottom part. Okay, so something like that. Perfect. Okay, maybe move it a little bit. Okay, so something like it's gonna be the final result. So if we display in rendered mode, it looks so amazing. Okay, so that's how I recommend to model a seashell. Okay, it's a little bit tricky at the beginning, but as you see the result, it's quite amazing, and I hope you like it and try it by yourself. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.